just the other day I had somebody ask me, just in passing, they were getting ready to renew their car tag. And of course, we got tax season coming up. It's almost January 31st. So you've got all the, 1099s?
1099s, W-2s, stuff like that.
All stuff that all goes out. And so they asked me, they said, why are our tags in Hinds County so expensive? And I said, I don't know. They said, well, I got a friend in Copiah County and it's cheaper there. And I said, I don't know. They said, well, you're supposed to know everything. And I'm like, I absolutely do not know everything. In fact, when it comes to taxes, I'm fairly ignorant, I would say, very openly about that, because I wasn't trained in this. So I thought, who would be better to explain this to me but somebody that's possibly a CPA and somebody who has their hand in a lot of what's going on in Clinton? And I thought, Nathan Cummins.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, who are you? Tell everybody, if they don't know who you are, who are you and what do you do?
So I'm a certified public accountant. I graduated from Mississippi State University in 2002 and 2003, master's in taxation and a bachelor in accounting from Mississippi State. Grew up in Clinton, lived in Clinton all my life. Right now, I'm a partner with a Mellon Company CPA firm based out of Vicksburg. We have offices in several different locations, though, one including an office here in Clinton that I in several days a week. So, I mean, CPA, do taxes, we do audits, we do financial statements, consulting, everything. That's what we do.
So a lot of people, when they get down and talking about taxes, that's what's the old adage of death and taxes.
That's
so
right.
They're definitely going to be there. And I would assume there's a large amount of CPAs and a large amount of financial individuals who kind of understand taxes a little bit better than the average Joe. But I would assume that there are a lot more average Joes out there than there are accountants and tax professionals. So like I told you in that text message last week, I want you to explain to me, if you can, county taxes, city taxes in the Michael Scott realm. Like, tell it to me like I'm 5.
Gotcha. So, taxes pretty much derive from, they are needed to fill the gaps where cities and counties don't have revenue. So cities and counties, of course, they're government entities, and they have expenses, they have costs. The bridges, the roadways, public safety, firefighters, all that goes into a city, a county, and what the expenses that they incur on an annual basis. So annually, they have to have a budget. And it's approved by the alderman and or supervisors, depending on whether it's a city or county. And that budget, is just a bucket of cost. And that doesn't just include, all those. It's payroll, it's maintenance, it's striping the roads. All those things go into in this budget, and you can't charge taxpayers, citizens for those things.
Right.
Some of those things can generate costs. If you have a speeding ticket, that's a revenue that the city can use to offset public works and stuff like that. But there's not enough revenue to offset all the cost. So that's where the ability to levy taxes comes in, because somebody's got to pay for all that.
Right.
And generally, it's the person that is utilizing it. So those taxes come into play in property taxes, car tags, all that kind of stuff, and different kind of property taxes, business property taxes, individual property taxes you pay on your house.
So that was one of the things in my little bit of research that I did with my English teacher and journalism background, was there's 5 classes of property.
That's right.
So I went through, this is again my professional knowledge, lack thereof. You got class 1 and class 2. This is real property. So what is real property?
So that's like land. It's real property is defined by land, unencumbered land that has nothing on it, and also land that has a building on it. So that's real property at the end of the day.
And so like class 1 is where you live.
Yeah.
And then class 2, I believe it was everything else, agricultural, rental,
that's right. Yeah.
business properties. And then class 3 is business personal property. What's the difference in that and the other?
So businesses are taxed usually by the county on the equipment that they have in their business and or inventory. So, if a business has inventory that they sell to customers at the end of the year, they have to pay property taxes on the inventory that they have. Car dealerships, for example, pay property taxes on the cars that they have on the lot.
That's why they want to get rid of them at the end of the year.
That's right. And then on top of that, they, if this table that we're sitting at, this chair that I'm sitting in, we're supposed to pay business property taxes on those items in a business. So every year they're assessed based on what they have, and a lot of time that is a self-assessment, but they will come out and check from time to time. And then you pay a property tax rate based on the equipment and property that you have in the business.
Now, Class 4, it says right here, is public utility property. So everything that's owned by like pipeline companies, electric companies, how is that assessed?
Similar. Okay. Everything's based on a percentage of ratio, and then that ratio is applied to the value. And that's what the assessor's office does. Right. The assessor's office is supposed to value the land, the business property, the public utility, and then there's formulas and ratios that based on that assessed value, they pay those taxes.
And then finally, that fifth is motor vehicle property. And so this is going to be your car tags and all that. So you do have a lot that you want to cover, and I want to hear it all. But kind of going back to that first question, is there a reason that the Hinds County tags are more expensive?
So, back to that budget, you've got this humongous budget. And when you look at Hinds County, it's, I think, the third biggest county by space alone, and it's the most populous county in the state. So, when you have a big county by space and with a lot of people in it, you're going to have a lot of services that you provide to the citizens. Public safety, again, all those different services that the Hinds County provides. Yeah. And, they're not free. They come at a cost. So what they can't charge for, they have to make up that in taxes. And, the bigger space, you got more to cover, more cost, taxes are just going to be higher. So that's why in Hinds County, I think you see that we pay a little more higher in taxes, property taxes and car tax, because we have to pay more to cover all those different expenses. And that's what the budget, the gap in that budget is property taxes, and that's what fills it. So and the other side of it is inflation. I mean, inflation's gone up the last couple of years. Those costs have gone up.
Right.
And you would think that the inflation covered, as property increases in value with inflation, those values should increase the amount of taxes that you're paying. But, a lot of areas, if that value is depressed, or if businesses move out of that area, they don't pay those business property taxes, they're not paying those land taxes and stuff like that. As those tax numbers come down, the rest of us have to fill that gap. So that's why you see those millage rates goes up and those property taxes go up.
Okay, so that's the next question I want to ask you about. I remember getting on the board, and we were talking about our mills and this and that, and I'm sitting there nodding like, yeah, it's right, the mills. I've got to make sure that the mills are right. And I even wrote on a little notebook, what is a mill? So I kind of looked it up, and I know that it's a $1,000th of a dollar.
$1,000th of a dollar.
But I get that in the number sense and the definition in our accounting textbook. But to a city, what is a mill?
So they come up with the millage rate, and the millage rate is, let's just say 1,000. So on 1,000, you're paying 1,000 of that in taxes. Okay. And that's really the way they increase those taxes that you have to pay. As they increase the mills, that increases the ratio. That increases on the millage on the value, the assessed value is how you increase those taxes.
What do those mills go towards?
Well, I mean, there's different ways. You can only increase the taxes by so many mills per year.
Okay.
I mean, that's how that there's state law that regulates that. But that millage rate, it really is just a calculation at the end of the day.
So inside the city of Clinton, another thing that we've seen are our sales tax. I've seen in different cities it can go up to 9% and go to 7%. But here in the city of Clinton, we've got different percentages that are added on to sales tax. Be that the hotel and restaurant tax, the 2% parks and recreation tax. What's the legal process to get to that? Because I remember the mayor talking about. We have to get approval by the legislature to then send that to the citizens to vote on, and that was the process we did. But why is that?
Well, sales tax comes back into the city where it's levied. So sales, the sales tax, whatever those increase in rates, will come back to the city. Mm-hmm. So the citizens have the right to vote, and specifically on like the hotel and taxes and stuff like that the city just passed, because those taxes are used for a specific purpose. So, I mean, I think it's the hotel is used for the recreation, right? Is that the?
Yeah, there's 2% tax that is part of the hotel and restaurant one that goes back into maintenance of city infrastructure. So instead of having to dip into funds over there, but then the 2% parks and recreation tax that we added on to all the restaurant tax, it goes into providing funds outside of taxing the citizens directly towards providing facilities at our parks and recreation area, which we've already got the first phase kind of going in for Kidstown and Brighton and Traceway.
So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, these taxes are coming right back into the city. They're used by those citizens for those citizens, so they have a right to vote to say whether we want to increase these tax rates or not.
So I know that the word tax, especially in a Republican-heavy area, taxes are bad. Taxes are bad. But would you argue that our city, I wouldn't say argue, what would be your kind of analysis on how our city, our county have kind of handled the taxes that are levied upon us?
Well, taxes are necessary evil at the end of the day. I mean, there's different theories on should it be our income tax rate, our federal income tax rate increases as you make more money. So, even though you may be in a 20% tax bracket, you may only pay 10% effective income tax rate. But it's a necessary evil at the end of the day. These items, these infrastructure, somebody has to pay for it.
Right.
So I would agree that in this area, in Republican heavy area, I mean, probably taxes are looked upon as bad, but they're necessary evil. So it's just how you use those tax dollars is really at the end of the day. I think the city of Clinton does a pretty good job using our tax dollars. The increase in the sales tax, the hotel tax, those are going to important items, the infrastructure, the parks and rec, stuff that make the citizens' life better at the end of the day. We want our roads to be nice. We want our parks and rec to be as good as it can be, to bring other people into our city. Mm-hmm. That increases our sales taxes. It all multiplies at the end of the day. So it's really in how you use those tax dollars. And if you use them efficiently and appropriately, you don't necessarily have to raise taxes all the time. You take care of what you have, and it works out in the long run. So it's a necessary evil. I guess the issue being waste.
Right.
So, I think the city of Clinton does a good job on our taxes. I don't know that Hinds County does a good job. I looked that up, the numbers up. The last audit that was available for Hinds County was September 30th, 2019. And, Hinds County budget in that year, or expenses for that year, were $105 million.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money. And, is it all being spent appropriately? I didn't get in the weeds and all that. I don't know. But that's probably a good question. And when you have, and so as that number just continues to grow with inflation and everything else, we have to pay more in taxes.
Yeah, that was the thing too that you brought up. $105 million. That is a lot of money. And I remember getting on the board and seeing, $5 million, $2 million, $8 million, and thinking that's a lot of money. Somebody needs to spend. We need to spend $226,000 on X, Y, and Z. That's a lot of money. And in my personal life, that is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But like you said, in the city, we manage our dollar bills, we manage our pennies and our dimes very well. So when you see these large amounts, we're actually utilizing them very well.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, most people don't understand because they don't look at these financial statements or have no reason to look at these financial statements. Right. Really, the volume of money that's just spent on a local city. I mean, you think Mississippi, Clinton, Mississippi. I mean, our budget's probably $30 million. Is it $30 million? Something like that. Yeah. And you don't think those numbers are that big, but they are.
Right.
Because there's a lot that goes into running a municipality, a county, and that's where you can kind of get in the weeds and say, is this being spent appropriately? Are we wasteful? Are we spending money on the things that citizens use? Are we spending money on things that aren't important at the end of the day?
Right. So we're here at the Chamber office, and you've had quite the long history with the Chamber of Clinton. It's a great institution that I've seen as a kid growing up here, and then somebody who's been on the board, and then now somebody that's on the Board of Aldermen. I've seen it grow, and I've seen it change. So you said we try to attract businesses here. We try to bring them to Clinton because, yes, it benefits our tax dollars, but the Chamber is here also to help benefit the business. We'll close out doing a little elevator speech of why should somebody join the Chamber of Clinton?
Well, the Clinton Chamber of Commerce, I mean, it serves our businesses, like you said. We have events. We try to do as much learning as we can for our small businesses, and that's really key. I mean, the bigger businesses, although they do need support as well, sometimes have infrastructure and stuff backing them up that they can have those resources available. The small business is what needs our help. That's the mom and pops, the people who are trying to go out on their new venture and do things, and the chamber's here to support them. So we try to do learning as much as we can. We try to recognize our members through social media. Put their information out there. If they have something that a sale or a new product or something that they want, we share that on social media as much as we can. And
services, too. There's so many times, especially over the last mini freeze that we had. How many times do we see on all the Let's Gripes of, does anybody know a good plumber? Does anybody know a carpenter? Well, there are names that are available on that website.
That's right. The website, and then the chamber annually puts out a book, and it gets mailed to every resident in the city, and that book has all of our members in it and what they do. So, I mean, that's a great resource. It's kind of like a telephone book for Clinton businesses. So, I mean, we're here to support our small business, our big business, but to try to make them comfortable, do what we can for them that they can't get to, and just be that ally at the end of the day.
So kind of, I know we said we close up earlier, but we'll do this last one. Average Joe citizen, somebody like me that doesn't understand taxes 100%. Is there any word of advice that you would give the average Joe towards their own taxes in their household, but then also what to pay attention to in the city and the county?
In the city and the county, I mean, I think from a tax standpoint, your taxes are going to build these roads. I mean, to make them better for public safety, our police, our fire departments, and as long as those institutions are running well, like a well-oiled machine, like I do think they do in Clinton, your taxes are going to good things. It's going to the right stuff. It's from an individual standpoint, from your individual personal income taxes. My recommendation is always to try to file them on time if you can. Just be diligent about how you spend your money, and just do the best you can to accumulate all those documents, get them to your tax preparer, and help them out. Because this time of year, I tell people all the time, you'd rather me do your tax return in February, March than on April 13th. Because on April 13th, my brain's tired. I'm tired.
Exactly.
I'm just, I've been working 50, 60-hour weeks for weeks on end. And so, help them out if you can. Get your stuff together. Get it to your tax preparer, H&R Block, whoever that is, and get it done early if you can.
My wife is taking note of that right now because she always tells me I run way behind, which I do. So I'm going to do a lot better this year. Well, Nathan, I appreciate your time. Thanks for letting me come and invade the office, and talk to you later.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
My thanks goes out to Nathan Cummins with May & Company. Thank you for letting me steal a little bit of your time, and thanks for informing all of us about all things taxes. Thanks also to the Clinton Chamber of Commerce for hosting our conversation. It really is a great facility. If you need any information about the Chamber of Commerce, you can find them on Facebook and online. As usual, thanks to Don Quixote's Horse for allowing us to use your music on this podcast. If you see me out and about, please stop and say hello. Take care of your neighbor, look out for each other, and as always, I appreciate your time.